This is the future.
Very good afternoon. Talking about today's topic in this session, navigating the landscape of data privacy, is a vast and constantly evolving topic. India has reached a watershed moment with the enactment of the Data Protection Act, that is DPDPA 2023. The DPDP Act undoubtedly marks a defining moment in India's technological trajectory, signifying a resolute commitment to securing citizens' rights in the digital age, while also bolstering the nation's cybersecurity infrastructure. The DPDPA Act represents a significant milestone in India's digital journey, aiming to strike a balance between fostering innovation and protecting individual privacy in the era of exploding digital data. Non-compliance with data privacy law can lead to severe consequences, including hefty fines, reputational damage, and legal action. In light of these potential repercussions, organizations must prioritize data privacy compliance. The panel discussion session will uncover how data privacy concerns are impacting various industries, such as healthcare, finance, technology, etc. I welcome the panelists over here, Vijay Sethi, Sourabh Gupta, Kamal Kashyap, Punish Lamba, and Khushbu Jain. Punish is also not.
Why don't you call someone from the audience to join the panel?
Why don't anyone from the audience can join this session? Anyone from the audience? I welcome Mr. Damodar Sahu from Datasafeguard to join us. Welcome our esteemed panelists, and thank you for coming to this session as we delve into the intricate landscape of data privacy against the backdrop of India's DPDP Act 2023. Let's start by exploring the overarching theme with the esteemed group of speakers. How do you see the evolving role of data privacy in shaping the future of the digital economy? And what key aspects do you believe the DPDP Act addresses in navigating this dynamic terrain? This is an open question to all of you. If you can take, if I can ask Khushbu.
Can I request for a repeat of the question? I thought you were asking, sir.
How do you see the evolving role of data privacy in shaping the future of the digital economy? And what key aspects do you believe the DPDP Act addresses in navigating this dynamic terrain?
Okay. So when you talk about digital economy, we are going towards digital India, and we are turning out to be 5th largest digital economy in the world. When you talk about all these things, and at the same time, when you see the scenarios, when you talk about security, safety, when you kind of threats, digital threats that are emerging along with this, digital India becomes an incomplete word. That's where we see across that security, the whole basis comes on the aspect of privacy, because best of the security measures, you need to have privacy in place. Privacy goes, trust increases, cybercrime happen. So to see that as a holistic approach, we see DPDP coming in place. DPDP talks about nothing but a basic cyber hygiene and ethics which companies should have followed since the inception, but they did not follow. Resulting, we see every day, every dining table, somebody talks about some money lost or some data has gone. I'm not going to an extent that there would not be any cyber attacks. Cyber attacks are there. It will grow. Best of the cybersecurity standards in place, it will grow. Not that we don't have to keep security standards, but one has to also understand the aspect of maintaining that morality, ethics, and security all together. So practically, to keep that sanity in place and to understand that how important the data was, data in terms of 3 things, data in terms of economy, data in terms of security of the nation, and data in terms of security of you and me, and the ownership of data with people. Looking at all these things, keeping in mind is where DPDP comes in place, that do the business, but follow certain standards and ethics in the absence of non-following. Hefty penalties, you started with hefty penalties. I'll say with 50 crores of just basic non-compliance of not giving me an option to right to access my data or right to delete my data or right to port my data. These are the basic things. You don't give me that option. Non-giving me of that option per se is up to 50 crores of a penalty. I'm not going to a 200 or 250 crore of a penalty where breach happens. So practically, this will help you, help your country become secure and to go towards digital India.
Anyone else want to take up this question?
I will add further to what Advocate Khushbu has mentioned, that DPDP takes us to the basic hygiene. Okay, so it's not that people were not doing that level of hygiene. Okay, it was all dependent upon that. Industries where, whether those industries who were there, whether they were regulated or not. Okay, certain industries were regulated. Okay, and where they were regulated by any, say, HIPAA or say any other foreign laws. Okay, or their parent company is in US or Europe, where GDPR and other laws were prevalent. Okay, they were doing that level of hygiene. Okay, but from an Indian context, where they were not having those instances. Okay, now it all depends upon company to company. DPDP Act gives us an opportunity, to clean those things and bring it to par. When we are saying, when I am saying at par, it is about making nation ready for next coming years, making ready for 2030, making ready for 2040. Okay, so lot of things are there. Okay, definitely. Lot of things are going to come. DPDP will fully come into force very soon. Okay, certain guidelines were issued. For NDA signing and all those stuff. I think 2 weeks back or so. Government has put up a structure. There is a penalty, so that if you don't follow, if you are not preparing yourself, then be alert. You are going to be caught. Okay, and the penalty is not 10-20 lakhs or so. Okay, so it's very hefty penalty. So only thing is, now government, what I see, is giving time. Okay, to industries. Okay, we have started looking into it. Okay, how do we prepare ourselves? Major area what I see, especially in I come from a manufacturing industry. Okay, which will not be the case in case of a financial institution or a health insurance. Okay, being in a manufacturing industry, this personal, sensitive personal information or the employees' data are mainly handled by the human resource department or personal department. Okay, so now we have to work with them in order to educate, do a deep dive, and then take it forward. So as we were seeing in the last session, awareness. Okay, so awareness is very important. We being into a technology field or in the legal field, we know the impacts. But now giving that awareness to the human resource department becomes our responsibility. That comes to our shoulders. So we need to take care of that. And this will come gradually and eventually with this span of time. We will follow that journey. And I see, companies, basis of their appetite, they are working.
True. Anything else, Mr. Damodar?
I'll put it very straightforward. 30 seconds. As a consumer or citizen, I'm expecting government or an enterprise maintaining my data should be protected, and how it actually help to grow our economy. So let's say my data are with the government, or let's say in enterprise. Even data breach happens, and the fraudster, the criminals, they take my data. If the data is of no use to them, then I can say my confidence on those enterprises, government will go up. So how that will happen? If my data go on rest, any database, if my data is completely redacted before database happens, even though the fraudster take my data, that is of no use. And in that case, what happened? The government or the enterprise say, hey, though database happened, but your data is completely redacted. Your name, Aadhaar, PAN, nothing is there. In that case, my confidence on enterprise and government will go up. and that will definitely help to grow the economy, right? Otherwise, what happens, database happens, and we take and our data are in dark web, and people buy it, and you know how that happens, right? Rest is the history. So I think that way, if you can use the complete reduction of data before data breach happens, definitely, it can be.
Thank you.
Let me take a very different take
Correct.
from all these so that, see, let's look at Indian enterprises. And before that, let's go back to Indians as such. You're going on the road, till the time you see a traffic policeman or the camera over there, you will do whatever you want to do. while
So
driving.
true.
If you go to most of the companies, they don't do anything on cybersecurity. Okay, there would be a security policy, 90% people would not have read. There'll be some firewall, half the passwords would be still the basic passwords. But when now there's an act which is coming up, so now they say there's a regulation. That regulation to me would force the companies to act on cybersecurity first, and then of course data privacy, and that's what would actually come in, rather than just government really doing all this for privacy of data. I think it will force the organizations to take measures for cybersecurity, for protecting my data. If you go to any company, all your personal data is lying on everybody's Excel files. Forget the ERPs and others, it's there, that's reality. Now, it will force companies to tell their employees that, okay guys, if you do this, there's a 50 crore, 250 crore penalty over there, please do this. And that to my mind would be a major mindset change that would come in once it comes up. So I look at it from that perspective rather than just the basic data hygiene.
So rightly put.
I just wanted to add to Mr. Sethi's point and what I briefly said. Oh, it's on now. So I think what it helps do is it'll definitely help accelerate the digital transformation, because it's also giving a framework to the organizations which were possibly not doing it for various reasons. And it could have been inertia, it could have been the lack of awareness, it could be multitude of reasons. But now when the organizations are planning their next step of digital transformation, or whether it's manufacturing or any other organization, outside of the people who are already heavily regulated, they will build this into the framework of their architecture as they're planning their technology framework. And that's going to be really helpful, because it's always helpful to get a guidance which is a little overarching to make sure that you're compliant to everything that you're supposed to be. And of course, the penalties and all that are an aspect to be considered, but it's going to help the whole digital transformation actually get accelerated, because all of us will feel safer in that environment.
I'd like to add on the forensics part of it, and we've been always harping on, people stealing our data, and really we can't catch those criminals. Where is the data? How are they getting it? So it's a paradigm shift with the DPDP Act coming up, with the data fiduciaries who are now going to collect the data, so they have the data ownership, right? Who is the guy who's owning your data? So it's the way you can catch the criminals, because now you know who the criminal is. In the earlier case with the IT Act, we never used to know the criminal, and we were actually trying to, gun for them, that yes, you are the one who took it, right? Whereas it's the other way around as part of the DPDP Act.
Hope you all agree with him, right? So straight away going to each one of you with your specific questions. Let me start with Mr. Vijay Sethi. Given your focus on digital transformation, how do you see the DPDP Act influencing the adoption of new technologies in India? And what challenges and opportunities arise in this context?
Okay, so if you look at digital transformation, and when you put in all these new technologies, the key is about data. It is about making the organizations data-driven, the decisions in the organizations being data-driven. So which means that the organizations need to collect a lot of data. The data could be for your customers, it could be various others, even the products and all those things. And one of the concerns that always comes is my data which is going back into organization, is it safe? Do I have a right to recall that data? Do I have a right to erase that data? Once I'm not a customer of that company, why should that company carry on with my data? And that to me, to some extent, becomes a deterrent for digital transformation initiatives, where people are not willing to give that data. And they're not too sure whether what would happen and what would company do with my data. So from that perspective, I feel that such an act would really bring in that trust element with the customers, with other stakeholders, that The organization which is saying that I'm following all the provisions of DPDP Act, I'm actually ensuring that your data is safe with me. And I'm taking all the measures, and tomorrow if you want to recall this data, erase this data, do whatever, or you want to port this data, this can be done. I'm giving you that assurance. And that would really ensure that the digital transformation initiatives would be taken in the right spirit. Will there be challenges? Of course, there'll be a lot of challenges in this, even within the organization. How do you ensure that people really do understand and take measures for that? How do you tell various stakeholders that I'm doing all these things? So those would be challenges. But to my mind, giving that entire framework, overarching framework, the word that you used, would really help ensuring that digital transformation is taken to the next level.
Next, Dr. Indrajeet Singh. Your expertise lies in cybersecurity. How do you see the DPDP Act impacting the cybersecurity landscape in India? What are the potential areas of collaboration between data privacy and cybersecurity professionals?
Yeah, so it's very interesting because when we look in from a cybersecurity perspective and the data privacy goes in, so auditing of data is very important, right? And so that you have the complete life cycle of the data which is available. And the whole cybersecurity auditing with the DPDP Act coming in will change because you'll also have those kind of DPOs who will be there in the organizations as well as along with the CISOs which you have. So the complete landscape is a kind of new landscape where you'll have the whole things of the data which you're having is going to be there. And just I'll take the side of the AI, right, where you're going to also have the AI coming in, and data in the AI is the most important. And integrity of the data is the crown jewel in any organization. Like you have the confidentiality in the normal way, right, the integrity becomes the crown jewel. So that, along with the cybersecurity tools which we have to create, will be the most important factor, and there we'll be incorporating the DPDP, data privacy policies which are there, or data privacy, frameworks which are going to come up for the organization. So those will be incorporated into it.
Moving on to Mr. Sourabh Gupta. As a CIO, how do you navigate the balance between leveraging data for business growth and complying with data privacy regulations like the DPDP Act?
See, if I see the growth, data growth in terms of business, okay, we have, I will say from a very, when we segregate the data, okay, and this is, let's take an example of when we are doing an analytics, data analytics, okay. So we have structured data and unstructured data. So business data is like that only. Okay, you have less structured data and more unstructured data. Okay. Now the challenge over here, what I see is now with the regulation coming in, okay, I have to segregate my data. Okay, I have to make the unstructured data as a structured data, because if I will not be able to make it, okay, I will not be able to identify that out of that data set, okay, which data sets are coming into my compliance. Okay. So it's a journey, and now when we do a data analytics of it, then I have to also see the privacy rights. Okay, if I am having now I have segregated the data, I have made it structured, I have done the data massaging. Okay, and now if I am working with the management to say, for example, doing certain data analytics. Okay, now I have to also see that, okay, is it lawful? I am not infringing any right of an individual if I am using his personal sensitive information for any MIS reporting or something, then I have to take consent from him or her. So those things are there which I see that maybe people are not aware, and that is something people have to see in industry.
Moving on next, my next question is for Kamal Kashyap. Given your role in storage solutions, how do you see the DPDP Act impacting data storage practices in India? what new demands and businesses likely to face?
Actually, Mr. Gupta did that for me, so he answered that question also in a very, very articulate fashion. What we're seeing is that the customers and across segments, industries, sizes, are going to look at better ways to store, manage, and protect the data, right? And that's going to be the thing that's going to span across, and this act is only going to amplify that. What you see the reality today is that what Sir was alluding to, that you have your business data, your multitude of data coming in from various sources. It can be coming from edge or getting generated in your own core systems or something on the cloud or your custom interactions and so on and so forth. And it's now possibly scattered across multiple systems everywhere. So you've got to figure out a way which is going to help you better store, better manage, and definitely because of the act, and not just because of the act, just because it is also important for your business and for your day-to-day operations, is how do you protect that. So you will see technologies that we're talking about come into play, where can I have a system where I might have multiple disparate systems spread across my entire landscape, and they could be in various parts of the country or the globe. Can I have a way to actually view and manage all of it at the same point of time? Do I have, hence, a mechanism to make the right set of data available to the right owner? Not everything can be made available to everyone. So there has to be rights, and there has to be a policy around that. Does my system allow me to enforce some of those policies? And that's going to come more and more when we talk about storage. And it's going to span across both structured and unstructured. And it spans across the manage aspect as well. And then the third, which is very, very important, which I think everybody alluded to earlier as well, is the whole secure aspect. How do I protect this data? Do I have the ability to actually run my production and not let the security concerns impede the speed of digital transformation that Mr. Sethi was talking about? So how do I actually make sure that possibly if I want to create an air gap so that in case an eventuality of an attack, I do not have my DP data for the sake of this discussion get compromised, then do I have that ability to create that? And my colleague is going to talk about it later in the day. But store, manage, and protect are going to be the three big priorities for everybody, for every organization. We can label different names, but that's how it's going to come into play as we go forward. Thanks.
Mr. Damodar, leading a global organization's IT infrastructure, how do you navigate the complexities of complying with data privacy regulations across different jurisdictions, including the DPDP Acts?
Sure. So if I look at data privacy compliance management, I look at few tenets, starting from, let's say, consent management, like where my data should be used, should not be used. Then discover the PII or PHI or sensitive, non-sensitive, confidential, non-confidential information, and try to discover, detect, then identify, then confirm these are the PI or PHI, then the enterprise has to tag, then either you mask or redact, right? If that rule engine can be automated for any structure, any data on motion, on rest, structure, semi-structure, unstructured, your historical data, right? And if they can do that, and I think even though data breach happens, right? So I think that data will be of no use to them. In that case, and of course the privacy impact assessment, right? It should be on regular basis, right? And in that case, I can say the enterprise or government should be compliance to the regulatory. Yeah.
My question to Ms. Khushbu. Given the evolving landscape of data privacy laws globally and India's recent DPDP Act 2023, how do you foresee this act is being interpreted and applied by corporates, individuals, especially in cases involving complex data privacy issues?
Okay, I think all the other panelists has already covered that area, but I'll still look into it. I'll go back to the same situation that 4 years back, 5 years back, you did got something called as 2017 right to privacy, but how do you enforce that right to privacy was a challenge. That's where we are talking about today and sitting with something called as DPDP Act. So DPDP Act practically makes it easy for organizations to understand that what are their practical obligations in life. And if those obligations are not taken care of, what is the penalty that they're looking out for? State of lawlessness was never good. Never good at international scenario as well, because countries who are having laws in place and we don't have law in place was being not looked upon in a fair manner. So looking into complexity or looking into how it is affecting individuals and corporates, for corporates, they are understanding it's making that easier because you never know that when new law will come or what kind of situations will arise. So the situation today is, best about this is they have not demarcated what is personal, sensitive or critical data. It is up to you. Any data which is personally identifiable is a data for you. Now it is for you as an organization to understand that what data are you taking care of, what is the high-risk data according to you, how do you have to understand who should get what kind of access, that's up to you. We are not interfering as an act, we as in the DPDP Act. The second that comes is the aspect of segregating that whether you are a medical company or whether you're in automobile or whether you're dealing with, you're in banking, no, there's no demarcation in that as well. So whatever security standards or whatever things you want to apply, up to you. You don't want to apply, don't get the data. Make yourself, as minimal when it comes to data. This will make companies understand that till now companies were taking tons and tons of data which was not required also. So this will make you understand the journey that Sir was talking about, that start to end point, where the data flows. People were not aware, the organizations themselves were not aware that how much they are the data they are collecting, what is the usage of it, which all entities are the one who are getting access to it, and at the same time, they're spending so much money in keeping that data. And then, though penalties were not there, but trust part was always there. The trust goes away of your customers if you do not secure the data of your customers. So this will make you understand that, that entire journey, that take care of it, how much data, if you can minimize the data, minimize the data. So that's the obligation part of it. And in the absence, obviously, as I said, everybody has covered basic rights, right to consent, what exactly is the consent? Sir was talking about bringing in transparency. This brings in transparency and accountability. Because till now, if you open any of everybody use a SIM card. Just whatever the SIM card you use, open the privacy policy, you will not sleep tonight. The kind of data that they have and the control they have. When we talk about, with Aadhaar or with WhatsApp, government is going to try to peep in, please open the privacy policy of the telco company which you are using the SIM card, and then we can talk about what privacy is. So that third to third party is now gone away with. One, if I'm the one sharing it with these 5 entities, let you know the purpose of those 5 entities. With those 5 entities, I'm increasing it to 20. I will let you know that I'm using your data, which is XYZ, with these 40 entities for purposes which can be 1 to 1,000. So let that be a transparency. If tomorrow there is a breach at his place, who's my third party, I am the one who should be held accountable, and then internally things flow where organizations also understand that I need to have a proper contract in place. I have to make sure that though I am the face for the user, but I have to make sure he also keeps the same standards, security standards in place, same accountability and transparency in place. So those things have come up. So I'm talking about for individuals. Now you're not in the state where you are not having the ownership of the data. Talk about privacy, but privacy is not being actual privacy if you don't have those rights in place, which is right to your own data, where you can recall, forget, access, things like that. And at the same time, these are the obligations that have come for the organization without burdening them that, okay, take care of this standard or have these things. No, they are not interfering in your business. That's about it. You have a question. Okay, the one who are collecting the data and one who are processing the data are almost similar when it comes to this. The people who are collecting the data are the one who are having obligations. So let's say I'm a data principal and he's a data fiduciary. He has all the obligations where he has to take care in terms of data principal that he will have to give me rights, right that he has to ask me with the consent part. The consent has to be clear, consent have to be precise, which has aspects as to why, what, where, in the language which I understand, that is 20 the languages which are there in Schedule 8 of Constitution. So these are the obligations which he will have to maintain, and in the absence of that, non-compliance is up to 50 crores. In the absence, in the area where a breach has happened, then can go to up to 200 crores, so scenarios like that. So there are a lot of obligations that have come up, and they have become very transparent that if you're a data fiduciary, these are your obligations. You will have to comply with these obligations.
And it's going to be time bound. It's not that once they have taken the consent, it's forever. Like for a Facebook or Twitter or a LinkedIn, you're given your data, so it's gone forever. But here it's going to be a time bond, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and they have to, you have to re-sign the consent again after that time. Otherwise, they have to give, they have to purge the data or whatever is forget the data. That's how it's going to be. Banking is excluded out of it. So banking, government, they are excluded out of the whole ambit right now. Startups, they have given leverage till the time, otherwise because none of the startups which are AI-based startups, they cannot flourish because they are all data intensive, data hungry. So as a policy, they are giving a leverage to startups till the time they are able to build up their AI algorithm, machine learning algorithms, and say that we have reached a kind of a optimum level. Then they are into the ambit of this particular data, privacy.
I'll add to it. When we say like this, all companies or fiduciaries are scared that now I'll have to, how do I build a product or a process where everybody will come and say that I recall my, consent, or I want you to delete my data. It's impossible for you to run the business, it's going to be very complex. No, one has to understand that what do you even understand by recalling the consent or giving the consent? That's something which everybody has to understand. Let's say today I'm continuing to take your services. So the services which I'm taking, for which the consent I'm given, I cannot recall the consent. Like for example, I am taking services of Uber and I'm giving him a consent of my account and I'm giving a consent for using my location. I cannot say that I don't want to because I'm still continuing to take that services. And then also when I exercise that right, also one has to understand that there are a lot of regulatory obligations or implications. Like for example, for telco companies, regulator bounds them to keep a data for 2 years. Minimum of 2 years of a data. So let's say from Vodafone, I've shifted to Jio, and I say to Jio that I'm not continuing my services with you, please delete my entire data. By default, they can't delete that, but you have to have that system in place to be able to understand that aspect that Khushbu Jain data is from 2010 to 2015. She has requested in 2016 to delete her data. We can't do that for this specific last 2 years data. Rest can be deleted. For 2 years, we will have to keep it and others. Same as with the banking part. Banking is also part of it. It's there. But the only thing is RBI has got specific regulations and things around that. So those were the one which is going to be paramount as compared to DPDP Act. So regulatory challenges and obligations are something which is going to continue. So it's not that simple, though it looks 40 sections and very small, but one has to understand how to navigate looking into your businesses in place.
As we have covered most of the thing, and this is a never-ending story. We are getting close to the end of our time together. If there is one thing you would like the audience to take away from this session, what it would be? Starting from Mr. Indrajeet.
I'll only say my data is my data. I got to be secure about it, and nobody should be able to take it away.
Great. Khushbu?
All I'm going to say is there is a level of state where we have come today, something which would have come 5 years back, 6 years back, but nonetheless we are here. So let's all of us understand our obligations, our rights, and exercise it, not unnecessarily go beyond that and create a fiasco about it. Let everybody flourish and all of us flourish without somebody compromising on somebody else's fundamental rights.
Thank you. So,
I just wanted to add that as organizations navigate through this, they understand the implications for their specific businesses. What it'll once again boil down to from a pure technology perspective is how do you actually store, manage, and protect. And that's something where, because we have experience of having worked across the globe in multiple scenarios, have the ability and the technology to help in that position. So that's what I wanted to leave everyone.
Sourabh.
One thing, make yourself ready for the future. It's a journey. We have to sail together.
Vijay.
I'll say the CIOs, CTOs, everybody needs to first understand the DPDP Act and also see the implications on the organization and take sufficient measures to ensure that those are followed and build a culture in the organization that it becomes part of their DNA that yes, I have to follow the privacy thing.
Mr. Damodar.
Privacy matters. So we are actually sitting on the ticking bomb, right? Your smart devices to smart car. If you are not compliant to data privacy, then next 5 years, 5 billion people on earth will be impacted by data breaches. And even 5 million enterprises will be impacted. So you have to be compliant.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving your time and sharing your insights, such beautiful insights. And I think our audience have taken good insights from our panelists. If you have any questions to ask our panelists on this, I think offline they can take up the questions. Thank you so much. Let's have a